Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is a refutation against Asrar Rashid, who misled his followers by telling them that you can say, "Oh Rasulullah, help me." And he cited one weak narration in one of the books of Bukhari, but it contains weak and authentic hadith. Unlike Sahih al-Bukhari, we believe that it contains only authentic narrations. But the book Al-Adab al-Mufrad, which he took the narration from, it's a book that contains weak and authentic hadith. And this narration precisely that he took from Al-Adab al-Mufrad is weak narration. The narration by Abi Ishaq al-Sabi'i an Abd al-Rahman ibn Sa'd. An, don't forget an. An here is very important. He said that the leg of Abdullah ibn Umar went numb, yani the nerve numbed. So there was one person with Abdullah ibn Umar who said to him, "Udhkur ahabba an-nasi ilayk." Mention the most beloved one among people to you. Then he said, "Ya Muhammad." In another narration, Muhammad without ya. The term wadhkur in the Quran is mentioned repeatedly. Wadhkur abdana Dawood. Wadhkur ibadana Ibrahim wa Ishaq wa Yaqub. Mention. It doesn't mean madad, help me. It doesn't mean mayday. Now, this narration is weak. Narrated by Abu Ishaq al-Sabi'i. He is trustworthy, but he has at least two problems, if not three. First problem, he became mukhtalit, ikhtilat, yani he had problem at the last phase of his life, problem with his memory. The second problem, he's mudallis. What's the meaning of mudallis? Mudallis means elusive, deceiving. But the deception of such trustworthy narrators is innocent kinds of illusion. It doesn't mean they are liars. No. Here's in this book, تعريف أهل التقديس for Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, he classifies السبيعي as mudallis, deceiver. He's trustworthy, he's not a liar. But he may skip one of the narrators for many reasons. He may skip. So when he says an, he may be skipping one of the narrators. But if he said haddathani, I heard him saying to me, he narrated to me, there is no way to reject the narration. But this weak narration that Asrar is inferring is not of that type. As you see it clearly, the narration says an, not sami'tu or haddathani. That's what makes that narration precisely weak. The narration that Asrar brings, it goes like an, from. There is a possibility of dropping deliberately one of the narrators. That's his problem. We are people of ilm, alhamdulillah. We do not deceive people. And among the signs of the misleading person is that he does not tell people the truth. If the narration is weak or not, he doesn't care. So despite the weakness of the narration, what does the narration say? That the man said to Ibn Umar, "Udhkur, mention the most beloved person to you." Mention. Does mention, udhkur, means seek help? Mayday? No. What's the evidence? A lot of ayat in the Quran. It keeps saying, وَاذْكُرْ عَبْدَنَا دَاوُدْ. اذْكُرْ عَبْدَنَا دَاوُدْ. Mention our servant Dawood. وَاذْكُرْ عِبَادَنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. And mention our servants Ibrahim, Ishaq, Yaqub. Does this mean ask for help? No. You're deceiving people, Asrar. Now, look at this. In Surah Al-Baqarah, In Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah number 152, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ وَاشْكُرُوا لِي وَلَا تَكْفُرُونَ. So mention me and I'll be mentioning you. أذكر. Why do you have to deceive people? Now, before anything, I would like to remind you about my book that I wrote specially as refutation to this weak narration. Here's the book. خدر عقل, يعني the one who used this weak narration, his brain numbed already. خدر عقل من احتج برواية خدر الرجل. The numbing of the mind of the one who is entering this weak narration about
the numbness of the leg. خدر الرجل.
That's the book. Maybe if we met someday, or you send me your address, I'm going to send you a copy of the book. No problem.
And I submit my challenge that you will not be able to refute my book.
So the narration doesn't mean seeking help from the Prophet ﷺ. And that is why Ibn Taymiyyah included it in his book, Al-Kalim al-Tayyib. He did not contradict as you claim. Oh, he said that asking the dead is haram, but he narrated this. No. As I told you, the narration is not clear of saying, Ya Muhammad, Ya Rasulullah, help me. No. So if you claim this about the narration, number one, it's weak. Number two, you are manipulating the meaning of the narration. The man said, Udhkur, mention. He did not say ask for help.
So if you have stomach constipation or skin wound or thyroid disease or tuberculosis, malaria, fever and high temperature or brain hemorrhage, don't go to a hospital. Say, Ya Muhammad, and let all of those hospitals close. Because with Ya Muhammad, there's no need for hospitals. Oh my God.
By the way, I'm ready to debate with you about the the weakness of this narration. Open Zoom. Hey man, open Zoom. Daily Hussein. Oh brothers, those who can manage and set up a debate between me and the man online, I'm ready. So what did the scholars understand from this narration? That mentioning the name of the beloved person may be effective to return the nerve as normal. This is one of the conceptions of the Arabian people before. Who is the evidence on this? An-Nawawi. An-Nawawi, the author of Riyadh al-Salihin. What does he mention about this narration? He says, إِذَا طَمَّتْ أُذُنُهُ, the tinnitus of the ear, when it goes like that. And now he says, if his ear sounded like this, then he makes salah on the Prophet ﷺ. And he says, may Allah mention in good the one who mentions me. But if his leg numbed, then he mentions the one whom he loves. Al-Majmu', 4th volume, page 524. Remember, brothers, how I bring all clear evidences with numbers of volumes and pages. But this man doesn't care about giving any detail like that. Also, An-Nawawi narrated that the people of Medina used to be praising the poet Abu al-Atahiyah. Abu al-Atahiyah is one of the poets who was saying, وَتَخْدُرُ فِي بَعْضِ الْأَحَايِينِ رِجْلُهُ تَخْدِرْ الرِّجْل. The leg of the person gets numbed. فَإِنْ لَمْ يَقُلْ يَا عَتَبْ لَمْ يَذْهَبِ الْخَدَرُ. Which means if he did not mention his beloved one, a woman I think, so the numbing will not go until he mentions her. So this is the understanding of the scholars to this narration. Also Ibn Sunni the one who you mentioned. In his book, عمل اليوم والليلة, page number 321. He also quoted a poetry who says, أثيبي مغرما كلفا محبا إذا خدرت له رجل دعاكِ. He's addressing his beloved woman. When my leg numbs, I mention you. It's very clear now that you're deceiving people. The pivotal question now is this. If the Sharia allows calling the Prophet ﷺ after his death, why don't we find any clear evidence
why the Sahaba were so lenient in communicating with the Prophet ﷺ? We never find any attempt to communicate with the Prophet after his death,
except in a weak narration. If the Sharia allows calling the dead, calling someone other than Allah, why the Prophet said to Ibn Abbas when he was young, إِذَا سَأَلْتَ فَاسْأَلِ اللَّهِ, if you ever ask Allah alone. وَإِذَا اسْتَعَنْتَ فَاسْتَعِنْ بِاللَّهِ, and if you seek help from Allah alone. But the Brailwis, if they go to prayer, they say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. But if they finish their prayer, they say, Ya Rasulallah, إِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. From you we ask help. See the shirk. So when they are in the prayer, they seek help from Allah. When they finish their prayer, they seek help from the dead. Brothers, don't forget that supplication is worship. Don't risk your faith. Don't risk your standing before Allah the Day of Judgment.
Allah's Quran makes it clear that supplication is worship. His Prophet ﷺ says the same thing. Supplication is worship.
Allah considered asking the dead is the top shirk. Look what Allah said. وَمَنْ أَضَلُّ مِمَّنْ يَدْعُو مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Who is more worst in misguidance than the one who calls apart from Allah? مَنْ لَا يَسْتَجِيبُ لَهُ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. Someone who will not be responding to him until the Day of Judgment. وَهُمْ عَنْ دُعَائِهِمْ غَافِلُونَ. And they are unaware.
Look how Allah ended that ayah. وَإِذَا حُشِرَ النَّاسِ كَانُوا لَهُمْ أَعْدَاءً وَكَانُوا بِعِبَادَتِهِمْ كَافِرِينَ. And when people are resurrected, those whom the pagans were calling, there will be enemies to them, and they will be denying their worship to them. Allah started the ayah with calling, and He ended it up with worshipping.
Of their supplication to them, that means they're dead. Surah Al-Ahqaf, ayah number 5. In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, in Surah Al-Nahl, ayah number 20, وَالَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. As for those who supplicate someone other than Allah, لَا يَخْلُقُونَ شَيْئًا وَهُمْ يُخْلَقُونَ. They supplicate something. They supplicate someone who does not create, but they are themselves created. أَمْوَاتٌ غَيْرُ أَحْيَاء. They are dead but not alive. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ أَيَّانَ يُبْعَثُونَ. And they do not perceive when they will be resurrected. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always make the supplication worship. فَادْعُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. So call upon Allah, invoke Allah, making your religion sincere to Him. Surah Ghafir, ayah number 14. In another ayah, فَاعْبُدِ اللَّهَ مُخْلِصًا لَهُ الدِّينَ. Surah Al-Zumar, ayah number 2. فَاعْبُدِ اللَّهَ مُخْلِصًا لَهُ الدِّينَ. So worship Allah, making your deen, faith, sincere to Him. In the other ayah in Ghafir, فَادْعُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. So supplicate Allah, making your faith, religion, sincere to Him. فَاعْبُدْ فَادْعُ. They're so similar to one another. Questions that Asrar has to give an answer to. Is it reasonable? Is it possible that Aisha is left in the desert and she does not call the Prophet ﷺ if this is allowed? She was looking for her chain. She lost it, and people did not realize that she is out of her box. So those who lift her howdah or howdaj, they thought that she's in it. They left her. And the Prophet was the leader of the army at that time. So the Prophet left her and the army left her. And she sat down in the desert. Afterwards, a man came and he escorted her to Medina. So if it was allowed to call the absent, and the Prophet was alive at that time, but absent, despite that, she did not call him. Is it better for Aisha to be escorted by a stranger man? Is it better to her than calling the Prophet? So that means calling the man in absence is worse than being escorted by a stranger man. So that shows the extent, the horribleness of asking someone other than Allah. Where's the Naqshbandi believe? They call the Prophet Hazir Nazir. He's always present. He's always watchful. Is this the Aqidah of Islam? Why Aisha did not say, "Oh Rasulullah, I believe you are Hazir Nazir"? Why? Wake up, Pakistanis, Indians. Wake up from the shirk that this man is leading you to. So is it reasonable that Aisha is left in the desert and she does not call the Prophet? Is it reasonable? Would you believe that Aisha lives 43 years after the Prophet's death, his grave in her room, and she never addressed the Prophet or communicated with him? Never ever. Is it reasonable? Is it possible that Ali fight with Muawiyah? Why didn't they call the Prophet to judge between them so they can spare the bloodshed? Is it better to shed their bloods? And many companions die without calling the Prophet, asking him to judge between them. Is it reasonable that Umar radiallahu anhu, he see the famine taking place in Medina, and despite that, he makes announcement, "Oh Allah, we used to be asking you through your Prophet to bring us water, but now we ask you by his uncle Al-Abbas." Why? Because that was in the Khilafah, the leadership of Umar, and the Prophet was dead. Umar is declaring, proclaiming, announcing in Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith number 1010. Oh Allah, we used to, that means not anymore, to ask you by your Prophet whenever we have this famine. But Umar did not leave tawassul. He was waiting for Uwais al-Qarni to come from Yemen. He did not call Uwais while he was in Yemen. He waited until he came. And when he met with Uwais al-Qarni, he said to you, "Are you Uwais?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Ask Allah to forgive me." That's tawassul. When Umar applied tawassul with Uwais al-Qarni, when they met together. Why? Because the Prophet made a condition. When one of you meet with Uwais al-Qarni, let him ask him to seek Allah's forgiveness to him. Sahih Muslim, hadith number 2542.
The Prophet says, whoever meet Uwais among you, let him ask him forgiveness.
So when Umar met with Uwais, he said to him, "Ask Allah to forgive me." Yes, Uwais at that time was Hazir Nazir, because they met together, and Uwais was alive. Okay, in this case, yes. In this circumstance, yes, it is allowed. Is it possible that Aisha is left in the desert, that Ali was fighting with Muawiyah, that Umar had a famine, and they don't say, "Ya Rasulullah"? But only the one who says, "Ya Rasulullah" is the one who had a problem with his nerves. Only for nerves the Prophet can respond. But for the most important, critical, crucial circumstances of the Ummah, they don't say, Ya Rasulullah. Only when you have a problem with the nerves. What about if you have a kidney problem? Do you go to the hospital? No. You say, Ya Rasulullah. What if you have cancer? You can say, Ya Rasulullah, don't go to the hospital. Inshallah, you will die. Finally, I say, the narrator of this narration is Abu Ishaq al-Sabi'i. He has two problems. Mudallis, he has a sort of deception, but that does not affect his credibility. He only, when he says an, there might be a possibility that he hide one of the narrators for political reasons sometimes. But when he says, I heard or he told me, there is no way to reject his narration because he's trustworthy.
This is what the Nawawi said. The Mudallis narration is not accepted until he proves that he heard from the other narrator, not only from the narrator, but he has to say, I heard him or he told me. If not, then the narration is not accepted. And this is the circumstance of that narrator of your weak narration.
The other problem of him is he has ikhtilat,
disorder in his memory.
Ibn Hibban, in his book Al-Majruhin, first volume, page 92, I'm making things easy for you, Asrar, to return to. He says, if the mudallis, deceiver, even if he's trustworthy, he says, Sami'tu, there is no way to reject his narration. But if he did not say, Sami'tu, I heard, then it is not allowed to accept his narration. The source is Al-Majruhin, first volume, page 92. Also Ibn Hajar said about this man, Abu Ishaq al-Sabi'i, he is famous in tadlis, deception. Then he quoted An-Nasa'i, saying the same thing about this man, Abu Ishaq al-Sabi'i, that he is mudallis, deceiver. Where is that? In the book of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, تعريف أهل التقديس بمراتب الموصوفين بالتدليس. The number of his reference, of his biography, in this book, ترجمة, biography number 91, page 146. الدارقطني, he also said that السبيعي مدلس. سؤالات السلمي للدارقطني, صفحة, page 38. The other problem of mixture in the memory of Abu Ishaq al-Sabi'i, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani proved that he has this problem. تقريب التهذيب, this is the book of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, first volume, page 423. He said, ثقة عابد, a worshipper, trustworthy, but اختلط بآخره أو بآخره. Yani in the last phase of his life, he had a problem,
a disorder in the memorization system in his brain.
Biography number 5065. Even Al-Fisawi, as Al-Dhahabi quoted him, saying that As-Sabi'i has ikhtilat, random problem with his memory. Siyar Alam al-Nubala, 7th volume, page 376. The last problem with this man, al-ittirab, the turmoil in the chain of narration. Sometimes Abu Ishaq Sabi'i said, from Abdul Rahman bin Sa'ad. Some other times he said, from Shu'bah.
Sorry, I mean from Abi Shu'bah, as you see it clearly in the book Amal al-Yawm wal-Layla, and also the book Gharib al-Hadith for Ibrahim al-Harbi.
And the worst is what had been narrated in Amal al-Yawm wal-Layla ibn Sunni. The narration that he quoted is from Muhammad ibn Khaddash. Is also another problem in the narration, which this chain of narration, narrated by Muhammad ibn Khaddash, this narration is false, absolutely false. Mawdu', fabricated, because this man, Muhammad ibn Khaddash, is a liar. So why do you ignore to people the Prophet saying, if you ever ask Allah alone. If you ever seek help from Allah alone. You make them forget this narration and you bring to them a false narration, not authentic narration. And Allah said, according to Surah Al-Jinn, ayah number 18, وَأَنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ. Mosques, they belong to Allah. فَلَا تَدْعُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. So do not call apart from Allah anyone else. But what do we do with these mosques? They have it in UK, in Pakistan, in India. They put a big slogan up, Ya Rasulullah, O Rasulullah. It means, help me. O Messenger of Allah, help me. Ya Rasulullah. There's no way to communicate with the Prophet. If Aisha did not have that access, you claim that you can have this access to the Prophet with the Prophet ﷺ, just like what the Sufis claim, that Ahmad al-Rifa'i, he came to the grave of the Prophet ﷺ and he was chanting a poetry. Then the Prophet extended, his hand went out of the grave and he gave it to Ahmad al-Rifa'i to kiss it. The Prophet, when he was alive, he was not giving his hands to people to kiss it. How false! You're making that claim. Christians may say, oh, your Prophet is arrogant. He just dig the grave and his hands exit out of the grave just to let people kiss it. See the lies and the fables? It's just like the fable of Kawthari, when he made the big lie against Abu Bakr. He said that people, the neighbors of Abu Bakr, they were smelling, they were fed up with the barbecue smelling from the house of Abu Bakr. They went to the Prophet ﷺ and they complained Abu Bakr. And the Prophet said to them, do you know what is that barbecue smelling in the house of Abu Bakr? This is the kidney of Abu Bakr. It burns when he starts remembering Allah. It burns. So that's why you're smelling the barbecue. This false narration about Abu Bakr is mentioned in the book of Kawthari, page 30. Urwat ibn Abdin, in his book Hashiyat al-Durr al-Mukhtar, first volume, page 302, he said, if the Kaaba was raised up from its place, the Kaaba, and it went to make a visit to the people of Karama, the people of Awliya, the Kaaba was plucked or uprooted and it started to accelerate. Going where, Kaaba? Kaaba, where are you going? I want to visit some awliya. So, Kaaba, what about the people who are making tawaf around you? If the people of Hajj and Umrah, they're making tawaf around it and they did not find it, it's okay. They can make tawaf around its place even if the Kaaba is not there. What's the matter with the mind of people? You are disguising Islam. Wake up. Stop following these fables. In the name of the religion, you'll be asked by Allah the Almighty. Allah descended His book and the Sunnah of His Prophet ﷺ, so people will be judged accordingly by those two, book and Sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ. Blessed you with seeing the Prophet, communicating with the Prophet ﷺ, in which the Sahaba did not have any access to. Why? Or you are so eager to have an access with the Prophet ﷺ, but the companions did not care about. They can have access to him, but they did not care about it. Only you, mashallah, you're caring about that. this narration is false, and you're calling people to misguidance. Asking the dead is a matter of shirk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ ضُرِبَ مَثَلٌ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ. O men, here's an example, so listen to it. O men. He did not say, O you who believe. No. Why? It's coming. إن الذين تدعون من دون الله لن يخلقوا ذبابا ولو اجتمعوا له. Those whom you are supplicating, invoking, calling apart from Allah, they will not be creating. They will not be able even to create a fly. Even if they all gather, look at the challenge of the Quran. Even all the people, all of them, they gathered to create one fly, they won't be able. So Allah said, O men, O people, those whom you call apart from Allah will not be creating even a fly. Why didn't Allah say, O you who have believed? Because it is shirk. That is why Allah did not say, O you who have believed. He said, O people, O men, those whom you're calling apart from Allah, they won't be creating even a fly, a flea. Even if they gathered all with conferences and make all of their efforts to create a flea, they won't be able. وَإِن يَسْلُبْهُمُ الذُّبَابُ شَيْئًا لَا يَسْتَنْقِذُوهُ مِنْهُ ضَعُفَ الطَّالِبُ وَالْمَطْلُوبُ. And if the flea should steal anything, any tiny thing from them, they will not be able to recover it from them, from the fleas, from the flies. Weak are the pursuer and the pursued. Weak both, the pursuer and the pursued one. This is very important ayah. If asking someone other than Allah is not a matter of shirk, does not invalidate Iman, why didn't Allah address the people who ask someone other than Him by saying, O you who had believed? He only said, O men, because asking the dead is shirk. That's why Aisha, she preferred to be escorted with a stranger man rather than calling the absent. Or you may say that Aisha was Wahhabi. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.